My advice for someone that wants to get in stadium management, facility management, is to go out and experience it. Get into minor league baseball. Minor league baseball, you learn everything from top to bottom, from pulling tarps to cleaning the stadium to overseeing the concessionaire, overseeing housekeeping. You get to experience everything that's going on. That's where I got my started, and I always look back in that experience. And worked my way through, basically coming up through the ranks from AA baseball to Canadian Football League to the NFL. And you'll appreciate what you've done in the past to get where you're at right now.
Well, I think it's important to note that this industry does need accountants as well. So whereas, certainly people come from various backgrounds, accounting and accountants are very important in every business, this one included. I think from a preparation standpoint, I think internships are extremely valuable. I think we certainly have very strong internship programs, and we give a lot of opportunities to interns and people that we know as well. So if you have an opportunity to take internships during summers or during school years, I think that's a great way for you to learn about the industry, and also for people in the industry that are connected to get to know you.
Best advice is put your head down, do as much dirty work as you have to just land that job. Again, I was an undergrad and I just worked as a work study, and I took hours on, and I ended up going to payroll as an undergrad, and I just took on whatever job. I remember my first job that I did was scooping dirt out of a pickup truck that was soaking wet to be dried and then put onto a baseball field. Terrible job, just muddy, and it was just not fun. But again, you do that, people recognize you, people appreciate it, people see you're a hard worker, and they give you more and more and more, and you keep taking it, and then you eventually keep moving on up. That's the best advice I can give. Put your head down and just work.
Well, my background isn't in parking, transportation, and food and beverage, and that's what my responsibilities are here. I would say to the students, always be open to new positions, even if they don't seem very exciting. My responsibilities used to be to deal with promoters and production managers, and I got to meet a lot of the artists. And when you're involved with an event, when you're doing a U2, or you're doing the Rolling Stones, or you're doing Coldplay, the list goes on and on, there's kind of an excitement to it, and a freshness to it, and you kind of feel like you're really part of the show. But for your students, I would say make sure they understand that there's so much more going on around an event, that if you have the opportunity, you need to make sure you learn as much as you can about all different aspects. That means box office and ticketing, food and beverage, parking, production, security, guest services. The more you learn across the board, the better off you are, and the more valuable you are to a facility, and ultimately, the more valuable you are to guests that are paying to come to your facility, whether it's, it could be any kind of facility, from zoos to gyms and to different things at different places. But at the end of the day, your facility is most likely a public assembly facility, or a place at a university where student athletes can train and compete. There's no difference between them and guests, and I would just encourage them to make sure, some of the less interesting positions are the ones that are really going to separate you from another candidate, whether it be for a job or a career.
I'm primarily in concessions, but and I'll say it's not a lot like me out in the industry right now, that I have a good understanding of all the different parts of the facility, as far as, like, say for instance, maintenance. I meet weekly with the maintenance people, about the building facility maintenance for food service, because we're responsible for it. So I kind of, over the years, learned how to actually manage in that segment of the industry too, because especially in some areas, if you don't know things, kind of like when you go to get your car repaired, if you don't have an inkling of what's going on, sometimes that dealership or that service person may try to take advantage of you. It's the same here with food. If I don't know some of the symptoms of if our equipment goes down, when a person comes in to troubleshoot it at $109 an hour, they can actually say you need things replaced that you don't need replaced. or simple troubleshooting before you actually make that service call. So on that aspect, don't just look at what you're working in now. Like expand outside that bubble. Like say for instance, got a good working relationship with the security people at the facility because they're important to us. Not only if we have incidents with the crowd, but if I have internal theft issues, things of that nature, we got to be able to identify that and actually go down and talk with the state police or the security people. Same thing with guest service. A lot of the things that we actually do interacts with every department in this building. So don't just stay within your discipline. Say if you're a groundskeeper, you should know what the food people actually do because you never know when you're going to come across questions from the guests or people as you're actually walking, what's going on. So you want to get a good gist of what's going on in the whole stadium and not just your little four walls in your office. So at least that's another way how I actually manage and I'll say survive in business.